Hello and welcome to your Employment Law Update brought to you by Make UK. My name is Eleanor Cowen and I'm an employment solicitor here at Make UK. I'm part of one of the biggest employment law teams in the country. We have 70 solicitors, barristers and HR consultants advising employers nationally on issues that they face on a day-to-day basis. Today, we're going to be walking through some of the key topics, challenges and considerations around mental health in the workplace and how you can effectively manage the mental health and well-being of your employees going forwards. And to begin, we're going to be looking at some statistics which really highlight why this is an issue we need to be dealing with proactively. You'll probably be aware of the Thriving at Work review, which was carried out by the government last year, which showed that this is an ongoing issue. Other statistics we've got for you are from the Office of National Statistics, which show that 11.4% of sickness absence is caused by mental health issues. That's 15 million days a year. And as you'll all know, that's a blunt statistic. So it doesn't give a view of the impact in the run up to that absence and before that and after that absence, both for that employee and the wider team, and sometimes the wider workforce, and the impact that can have on everyone. And whilst we're seeing an increase in this, we're also seeing a more significant increase in the proportion of younger workers. So whether that's just because younger workers are feel more able to talk about this, have less cultural inhibitions around it, or whether this is because it's an issue that's on the increase, we don't know. But it very much looks like it's here to stay. Turning to look at manufacturing specifically, stress and mental health is in the top 3 causes of absence for us. And whilst that comes below musculoskeletal, it's issues which is the principal cause. What's really clear is that the proactive work is not being done on this area of ill health. Only 1 in 5 manufacturers are investing in measures to promote mental health, whereas in our recent survey of unlocking employee productivity, the majority of manufacturers were taking active steps to assess risks and promote better physical safety. And we also found that employers in the manufacturing sector are least likely to agree that their organisation is effective at supporting people with mental health issues. And aside from the general productivity and absence concerns, we also need to be aware of some specific legal risks around this issue. So our duty to take care of employees is implied into every single contract of employment, and that's a duty I know you all take very seriously when it comes to mental health. It is not when it comes to physical health, but mental health doesn't seem to be given the same priority. Legally, it does have the same significance. And if we breach that duty of care, we're opening ourselves up to contract claims, which could lead to constructive unfair dismissal claims. And also, it opens us up to our tortious duty, so that can lead to personal injury claims. And they are expensive claims if they go wrong. We'll all be aware of the caps implied in the caps in compensation for unfair dismissal claims. That doesn't apply to personal injury claims in the same way as it doesn't apply to disability discrimination claims, which is an area I'm sure you're all reasonably familiar with. We know that the definition of discrimination, as it's there on your screen, covers mental health impairments as well as physical impairments. And so it's something we do need to be very aware of. For the vast majority of claims, we're not going to be liable until we know that the employee has a disability or is likely to have a disability. But that knowledge can come through the employee knocking on your door and saying, I feel very depressed. It can come through a fit note, or, and very importantly, it can come through your observations of the employee. And that will include and will often come from your first line manager's observations of that employee. If they are seen to have a change in behaviour, they become very withdrawn, they become very down, they could be very tearful, they could react disproportionately aggressively, for example, to instructions that they previously accepted. There is no one size fits all, but when the employee exhibits enough symptoms, that manager will be on notice that that employee is disabled by reason of their depression. And once the manager is on notice, you as an organisation are on notice. So it's crucial that at that point you are proactive in the actions that you take around that employee. For example, you are then under a duty to make reasonable adjustments, and that is a proactive duty on you. You cannot leave it to the employee to come to you with suggestions. As with the tortious claims, the breach of contract potentially claims, there is no upper limit on the damages that can be awarded. So these can be really expensive claims if you get them wrong. If an employee is bringing a disability discrimination claim in the tribunal, they can also add on a personal injury claim to that tribunal claim. And there is no need to show that that psychiatric injury that they have suffered was reasonably foreseeable, as there is if they were bringing a personal injury claim in the county court, in the same way that an employee might bring a claim for a slip or trip. So these are claims to be aware of and be wary of. So what do we do? We have to create a culture where this issue can be discussed, can be talked about, where we can take preventative action in exactly the same way we do as when we see a trip hazard on the floor or a piece of machinery which looks like it might have a flaw or a fault. We have to educate our staff on spotting the early signs of mental health issues and reducing stigma so that people will talk about them more. Everyone's experience of mental health is undoubtedly unique, but we can train managers to spot the common issues and to respond sensitively. We can't assume that people know how to deal with these issues if and when they do support them in their team. At Make UK, we've put together some wellbeing initiatives which we think should be considered by all employers. The aim for this is a holistic approach, not just a reactive approach to when you see a problem, but let's get some initiatives in to improve employees' mental health so that we try and avoid some of those crisis points happening in the first place. Let's concentrate on physical health as well as mental health. So we get people fitter, we get them to the gym, we get them cycling to work. If issues do arise, we deal with it proactively. We get the support of occupational health, any employee assistance programs we've got going on. What you want is for your managers to know where to go if an employee comes to them with a problem, not to be left floundering, feeling like they don't know how to deal with this. And that's where the training comes in. Lastly, insurances. This is a really complex area, but if you have insurances in place, make sure that everyone is educated on them. Make sure that you know who's entitled to them, who isn't entitled to them. If you don't refer an employee to a, for example, group income protection scheme, and they would have been eligible had you done, that can be a very, very expensive claim to deal with. We think it's a great idea to have a mental health policy in place. It provides guidance on how to support colleagues managing mental health at work. It can encourage open conversations, set out common systems, give managers a structure and a blueprint to go to when something gets raised like this. And members of Make UK can go to our website and print off a checklist of points to consider when drafting a policy, because it's really important that it's drafted with a view with your organisation, particular organisation, the challenges you face in mind. When you see a problem, when you identify a problem, it's important to think about it from two different perspectives. The first is the situational factors. Are there issues that this employee isn't in control of which are influencing their feelings and their mental health? So is there an issue with the manager's behaviour? Is the workload too significant? Are there those awful personality clashes going on within the team? And then you also need to think about individual factors. Just because an employee is exhibiting mental health issues, it doesn't mean you cannot manage them if their performance isn't up to scratch. But we obviously need to think about this sensitively, consider things like whether training is an issue, whether we need to support them in that. But these absolutely aren't employees that you cannot manage going forward. This is a really complex picture and it's evolving all the time. we are a phone call away if you need us, and the contact details are on the screen there if you want to make any inquiries. We've recently run a very successful Managing Ill Health and Tackling Absence seminar, which we can deliver in-house if that's what you want. And from my own personal experience, getting your team together and discussing those issues in a sort of neutral environment is so, so beneficial. We can also provide help with mental health first aiding if that would be helpful. It's something that a lot of our members are rolling out at the moment, as well as things like mindfulness and resilience. Contact details on the screen. Please do drop us a line if you've got any questions. Thank you so much for listening today. Have a wonderful day.